Hey guys, it's Luke here and welcome back to another video. Now, as you can see behind me, I have brought out today the Toyota GT86, my new project car. Now, at the moment, fairly obviously, it's bone stock. That's because I've only really just taken delivery of it and I've only just revealed it to you guys. I think it's probably been out in the open now for about a week. And I'm glad that the most part of you guys actually seem to be pretty happy at my decision. I said in that video that I don't know what it is about this car. I've just always wanted to own one, and to now finally have the keys to one. I've now owned it now for a couple of weeks. It has not disappointed at all. I think I'd be lying if I said that I was disappointed. It's not the quickest car in the world, but my God, it's just so much fun to drive. And hopefully this is going to be portrayed in future videos of this car. It really is an underdog and pretty good bang for buck as well. But anyway, as the title suggests, today I'm going to be addressing all the different reasons, explaining why the GT86, why I decided to go out and buy one, especially the endless amounts of project cars or alternate project cars there are on the market. Fiesta ST, maybe even another Golf R, or maybe even the Subaru equivalent, the BRZ or the BRZ. So yeah, I'm going to be addressing all of the hundreds of comments and messages that I've received of, why didn't you buy this? Why didn't you buy that? And why did I actually end up going for one of these? And so I think without further ado, let's crack on with today's video. So before we hop on board the car and go for a cruise and get today's video underway, there's a couple of little bits of admin which I like to get out of the way. Now, the first of those is how clean it is, or should I say how dirty it is. I'm well aware that the car is absolutely filthy. In fact, I cleaned this 2 days ago. 2 days! But trying to keep cars clean at this time of the year is near on impossible, especially when you have, well, lots of this around. But yes, I'm well aware that the fact it is dirty, I try and keep my cars clean as much as I can, but when I am essentially dailying this car now, it is a little bit tricky. Now, the second little bit of admin is actually to do with the MOT. Now, those of you who actually tuned in to the reveal video of this car, you'll know that it is covered very, very few miles since its last MOT. And for those keen beans who actually, there was a couple who actually decided to reg check it and alert me that the MOT was coming up, which I was aware of, the MOT or fresh year's MOT wasn't actually included in the deal when I bought it. And it had its MOT. It had its MOT yesterday in the time of recording this. It flew through. And that's all good. Otherwise, if it failed, that wouldn't have been very good at all. But actually, when looking at buying this car, I did some research, and I think the only little thing which was picked up on the MOT last year was all 4 tyres were perish, and those have, of course, now been changed. They got changed actually before I bought the car, so that's all good. But yeah, it covered very, very few miles since its last MOT, but it now has a fresh year's MOT on it now, which is all very good. But yeah, all happy, all good, which is positive start. Anyway, I think that's all the admin out of the way. I think we should hop on board because I think it's going to throw it down soon and well, go for a cruise and ultimately explain all the reasons why I decided to buy one of these things. So what's extremely frustrating about today actually is the fact that there is a bit of a storm going on here in the UK, so please do forgive me the fact that I'm going to be in here all nice and cozy for the rest of the video. I don't really want to be dealing with 50-mile-an-hour winds outside because I don't think you'll be able to hear me on my mic at all. But anyway, what I'm going to do, for those of you who didn't tune into the reveal video, you might not know the kind of reason, well, not reason behind it, kind of the process of me buying one of these things, because I've been tentatively looking at one of these for about 6 months now, maybe even longer than that, and it actually started off with me wanting to buy one that had been crashed, not heavily, not a written off car, just one, say, with a bit of front end damage or rear end damage, something like that, because I like the idea of getting my hands dirty and making it a real project, kind of rebuilding a car. However, in hindsight, the amount of time that I have to make videos as it is very limited, because I still have a full-time job, which at the moment is extremely time-consuming, along with all the videos of my normal commitments so far. It just would not be viable. So at least for now, well, obviously I didn't buy a crash car because I'm driving it right now, but also it means that because I wouldn't have very much time, it means that I'd be buying a car which realistically I won't be able to drive for at least a year whilst I rebuild it, because of the amount of time, or the non-amount of time which I have to work on it. And there's further reasons which back that up, which I'll get onto later on. But seeing as that idea kind of went out the window, which was fair enough, I decided, looking at cars which had been crashed just on Auto Trader and other car sales sites like that, and I came across a car which was the cheapest in the UK, and it was imported from, I believe, Australia, and at first I thought, oh yeah, that's fine, it'll be in miles an hour, because I thought that Australia was in MPH rather than KPH, so it was pretty much a UK car, UK spec, shall we say. So it was imported from Australia a few years ago, but after doing some research, it actually turned out that it was, well, it had been converted to UK spec, because it had to go through like an IVA when it was registered here in the UK, which is a bit like an MOT but for cars which are new into the country. And all of that had been done, but there was just a few little bits which weren't right. It was a lower spec car, which I believe the UK didn't receive, so it didn't have the touchscreen, and it didn't have as nice a dial up here, or dashboard, should we say. It was, to be honest, it was a really good price. I could have got the car for, I believe, £8,000, which, comparing it to UK cars for £8,000, the mileage was crazy. So you'll be looking for £8,000 or £9,000 for a UK car, you'd be looking at a car with over 100,000 miles. This car, which I was looking at, had 29,000. So in that respect, I thought it was a good deal, but it didn't really work out in the end. But 2 days later, this car popped up online, and it had only been on the market for 2 hours before I deposited the car. And like I said in the reveal video, this car was a one previous owner car. It's just ticked over to 23,000 miles. And was hardly really driven. I think it was a weekend car for the previous owner. I actually spoke to the lady who owned it, and yeah, she just had it as a bit of a fun car, which is kind of what it is for me now. But yeah, that's the whole reason, or whole process behind me buying one of these. I never really like to rush into buying cars, because it's not worth it. So if I were to run out and buy a car which was crashed, I get it home and realise that realistically I'm not going to have enough time to rebuild it in a couple of months, let's say. But yeah, no, it would have been a cool project to do that, and I would like to do that in the future. But it just didn't work out with this car. Maybe my commitments will change in the future, and then maybe I'll be able to do that. But going on to probably the main reason as to why I decided to buy, not necessarily one of these, but a second car, and that is because of mileage on the 140i. Now, mileage legally isn't an issue because the car is not financed, neither is this, so it's not like I'm held under an agreement that I can only do so many miles a year. It's just the sense that the 140i is my biggest asset, and it's a depreciating asset, so in that sense it's very mileage sensitive. So I'm being quite careful with how many miles I put on the car, because I will be driving it around Europe, same with this, a lot this year. But this necessarily, I don't really mind so much about mileage because it's a cheaper car, and the depreciation isn't as bad as a BMW's one. So that's the kind of reason why I wanted to go for a second car. But the reason why I wanted one of these is just because, well, there's multiple reasons behind it. One, I just really liked the whole package that this car gives. Yes, it doesn't have a turbo, but it's the kind of car which you can use all the power all at the same time, all the time really, and it's not scary like the 140. If I were to put my foot down, then I'm not sure if I'd be going over there or if I'd be going up there into that poor person's driveway. Like, it's very unpredictable in that sense, which does make it fun to drive, but hard to drive when you just want to get to A to B, if that makes sense. And I wanted to buy a car which I could use to go to shoots, because I do a lot of miles around the UK, but also a car which I can use to make videos, something which you guys might find interesting, and thank you, it seems to have gone down pretty well, so I'm glad that quite a few of you guys are interested in it. It's just, I wanted to find something which I could use and not worry about the mileage, and also something which you guys would find interesting, so I mean that I'd still be able to make videos on it, because I mean I could go out and buy a Fiat 500 or a Vauxhall Corsa and it would be fine to get from A to B, but it wouldn't be the kind of car which you'd want to see on the channel, and it's not something which I'd want to really put on the channel. But I'm hoping that's kind of making sense with the whole reason as to why I wanted to buy a second car. But with one of these as well, one of the main reasons why I wanted to pull the trigger on a GT86 is just because how much potential there is. There's a huge tuning market for these online, as I'm sure some of you guys are aware of. You can get wide body kits, you can get turbo kits, you can get supercharger kits, and it's a bit like the Fiesta ST in the sense that there is endless amounts of modifications which you can get for this car, which is very appealing for someone who wants to buy one of these in the aim to make it a project car. So that was one of the reasons, and I don't know, it's hard to put my finger on without seeming really vague, but I just like this car. I'd never driven one, I've never been in one before, but I'd see them on the roads and I kind of think, they look really cool. I think that they'd have a lot of potential. So yeah, that's the kind of reason why. And well, going on from that, another reason is just because of how different it is for me. Like my niche, I'd say, is hot hatches. I'm sure all of you guys will be aware of that now with the Golf R that I've owned previously, and also the 140i. I wanted something a little bit different. I didn't want to go out and buy something which is kind of within my comfort zone. I wanted to do something completely different, and I was actually really nervous to reveal this car because there's so many different options out there, and I feel that, well, there are still quite a few people that have suggested that I shouldn't have bought this or should have bought something else. But it's just, I wanted to do something different. A lot of YouTubers out there, which I have no issues with at all, are doing project cars with Fiesta STs, and just looking at a YouTube perspective, I didn't want to step on their toes or kind of do something which quite a few other people are doing. And yes, I know that there's quite a few people out there that have done content on one of these before, a few friends of mine who have got them as well, but it's just something which I feel that hasn't been done as much, and so that kind of made it a little bit more appealing for me. Now anyway, we have national speed limit, so I think we won't do a bit of talking for a while. Let's have a little bit of fun, because where this car comes into its own is on roads like this, and it is so much fun. Like I was saying, it's not the kind of car which is the fastest in the world, but it's the kind of car which you can use all the power. Like I am got my foot flat to the floor at all times. Heel and toe is nice and easy. Traction is kicking in, but it's just so much fun to drive. You can properly throw it into the corners. You've got nice sticky, not sticky tyres, I want to be, you've got nice skinny tyres, sorry, on this. So it is a bit leery, because obviously there's not as much surface area, but it's so much fun to drive, it really is. And this is stock, completely stock. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun, it really is. Hopefully that little stretch gave you an idea of that. But I mean, going back to kind of what we were speaking about a little bit earlier, you may remember when I bought the 140i, one of the reasons why I bought that is because it was something completely different to me. Now, not in the sense that it's a hot hatch, obviously you know that I've owned hot hatches in the past, but driving experience wise, that car is a 3-litre 6-cylinder rear-wheel drive car. I've never owned a rear-wheel drive car, obviously, until now, because I had the Golf R, which was 4-wheel drive, and then the Audi A1 before that, which was front-wheel drive. So I wanted something which was a different driving experience, which is why I didn't go for something like an A45, because it, let's be honest, it drives very similar to the Golf R. And that's kind of why I wanted to step away from maybe like another Golf R, at least for the time being, and or a Fiesta ST, because it's very similar to the way that some of the other cars which I've owned before drive. And that's kind of the aim with this, or the aim, one of my life aims is to experience lots of different cars and lots of different driving experiences. So yeah, it all came together and all pointed at one of these. So yeah, that's kind of, well, at least the main reasons why I wanted to pull the trigger on one of these things. And like I said in the intro, I've owned this now for probably 2 weeks. It's been out in the open for about a week now since I revealed it. I'm loving it. I'm driving it not every day at the moment, because I don't need to drive this every day. I have another car which I use for work, which, to be honest, if I'm completely honest with you, it's a van, so it's not something which is very interesting. But yeah, no, I think I've done probably nearly 1,000 miles in it now, and it's fun. I like it. It puts a smile on my face, and that is exactly what it's all about. Even in weather like this, where we've got big floods on the road and very windy skies. Windy skies? I don't know. anyway, I think that's probably going to wrap up today's video. A bit of a simpler one because, like I said, we have Storm Dennis surrounding me at the moment. Could have probably chosen a bit of a more intimidating name than Dennis. But anyway, yeah, so please do forgive me for the fact that it hasn't been the most, I don't know, different video than what I normally do, but hopefully it gives you guys an idea of why I decided to buy one of these things. I mean, I've had so many comments and questions on DMs and on YouTube just about why I decided to get one of these things, and thank you. I will say a big thank you to everyone who is pleased with the decision and has said very nice kind words. It does mean a lot, and yeah, I can't wait to make this thing into a proper little project, have a lot of fun with it, because this car has a lot of potential, so yeah, that's going to wrap things up for today's video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, please do make sure you leave a like and make sure you subscribe for all the adventures